I have a high conflict divorce. Can I mediate? Sure, you can, as long as there isn't domestic violence present. Even a high conflict divorce can be mediated. Why? The mediators have the skill set to lower the temperature in the room and help the parties focus on the outcome rather than the acrimony between them. We also, in more cases than not, are mediating on a platform. So we're on Zoom or some other platform. And the reality is we keep you and your spouse in separate rooms. You don't even have to see each other if you don't want to. And we are focused on the outcome and not the acrimony. Other techniques mediators use in high conflict cases are focusing on the areas first that the family agree upon. So children, for instance, we might not agree on what the custody plan is, but we agree that the parties love their children. We agree that the parties want the children to stay in the school district, perhaps. And so finding areas of agreement just brings that positive energy, that higher vibrational energy into the mediation space. And we're then not focused on all of the things that brought us to divorce. So it's the focus on the outcome, and what went wrong or how we got here is of less significance. However, a skilled mediator can discern when one parent needs to sort of get that off his or her chest, and you need to allow them that time, a compressed time frame, to sort of get that off their chest, because that becomes a barrier to him or her moving forward. So we have to allow for that space, but not let that overcome the space. Power dynamics in mediation are so important. If you have one spouse, the spouse that didn't really have a voice in the marriage, you have to recognize that early on in the mediation and address it head on. Some mediators are busy, focused on, joy and love, and let's, just move forward in this beautiful way. And that sounds good, but if there's a power dynamic and your mediator lacks the skill set to disrupt that, your mediation is doomed for failure. How does your mediator disrupt the power dynamic in mediation? Well, we have to start with the spouse that felt unheard, unseen, the spouse that wasn't understood in the marriage, and really giving that spouse, that parent, a voice, helping them find their strength in their ability to move forward, and the fact that they know that they're going to have a say in the outcome, and perhaps this is the first time they have a say in the relationship. Now, in that other room with the spouse that's used to being the dominant party, it's disrupting that idea, that frame, that they are still going to be in the dominant position at the end of the mediation, because no one wins everything in mediation. It wouldn't be a mediation. Everyone has to compromise, and helping that dominant spouse realize that the only end here is a judge making a decision that they will probably be unhappy with, or them getting on board with the concept of negotiating and the concept of compromise, and no one wins everything in every case. Is the train going off the rails in mediation? Not if you have the right mediator by your side. Your mediator's job is to keep that train on the track, and that train headed towards an outcome that both you, your spouse, and your children can live with. So the mediator's job is to control, to a large extent, the emotional piece of this process. If there are certain things that are triggering one spouse, you're very careful on your language, right? Because we're using caucuses, we're keeping the parties in separate rooms. But when I go into the other room, I don't have to say, well, your spouse told me that on Christmas in 2015, you were drunk and you were an embarrassment to the family. Is that advancing the ball forward towards an outcome? Absolutely not. That was an anecdotal story that you learned in the other room. Don't share it in the other room, and let's work towards an outcome. Not that we're keeping secrets, but some of that process is just cathartic for the parties, and we have to give them that space, but we don't have to storytell back and forth unless it's germane to a custody issue. High conflict cases can be mediated. You want to learn more? Give us a call and we'll talk to you about our skill set and your case.